Very good morning, all of you. Is my voice audible? Is my voice audible? Everyone? Thank you. If you have if any problem with my voice, please let me know through chat box. So thank you one and all. Before I start the session, 1 minute. Yeah, is my voice is clearer now? All the students, is my voice audible now? Can you confirm me my voice is audible or not? Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I'll start the class. Before the starting of the class, let me go for a quick tour of the previous class, and after that I'll ask the questions on the previous class, respond through chat box. Right, in the previous class I was discussing the phases of Indian banks. We had a discussion on the types of definition of bank, types of accounts. Under the types of accounts, we had a discussion on we have two types of deposits available. One is demand deposits, another one is time deposits. Under the demand deposits, we have two more types of deposits available. One is current account, another one is saving bank account. Current account, only a firm can open the current account, and saving bank account, anybody can open the saving bank account. To promote the saving habit among the people, the saving account is designed. These two types of accounts together called as CASA, 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 current account and saving bank account. And customer can withdraw, or a businessman can withdraw deposits at any moment. So banker, on the demand of the customer, banker should hand over the money of the customer. So that is the reason these deposits are called as demand deposits. And current account, and come to the time deposits. We have basically three types of time deposits available. One is a recurring deposit account, RD account, fixed deposit account, and bulk deposit account. So these three, and along with that, two types of demand deposits we already discussed in the previous class. So now come to the questions. So before I start the class, so let me ask the questions of the whatever the topics I covered in the previous class. So participants, please respond through chat box. My first question is, so can you tell what are the three phases of Indian banks with the dates? In the previous class, I was explaining the three phases of Indian banks. The Indian history of the Indian banks classified into three phases. So what are the three? Very good. So I'm receiving the response from the students through chat box. The phase one, very good. 1786 to 1969. What about the before 1786? We had banks, but from 1786 to 1969, so banks started functioning their activities, and 1969, most important time for the banking sector, the 14 major banks were nationalized during this 1969 period. So that is under phase one. So this answer is said by Abhinav. And second phase, yeah, second phase from 1969 to 1991, and third phase from 1991 to till date. So whatever the what is happening in the present banking system, banking also will be covered under the third phase. And my second question, can you tell me what are the three banks are established during the phase one? Can you tell me what are the three banks are established during the phase one? The three major banks, major banks are these three banks are called as presidency banks. What are those banks? You need not tell the date, just tell the bank names. What are the three presidency banks? I'm waiting for answer. What are the three presidency banks are established during this phase one? Okay, I will tell you. The three presidency banks are Bank of Bengal, which is established in 1809, and Bank of Bombay, which is established in 1840, and Bank of Madras, which is established in 1843. So these three banks together called as presidency banks. Okay, remember Bank of Bengal, Bank of Bombay, and Bank of Madras. These three banks together called as presidency banks. And my third question, can you tell in which year these three presidency banks were amalgamated, and what is the name given to that bank? In which year these three banks amalgamated? Three presidency banks were amalgamated, and what is the name given to that bank? Because I covered in the previous class. Very good, very good. So all the participants are there in advance. So very good. During 1920, these three presidency banks were merged, amalgamated, and given the name of that bank as Imperial Bank of India. Very good. And my next question is that what is the present name of the Imperial Bank of India? That is 1920. Yeah. 1920. These three banks are merged merged and amalgamated, and given name as Imperial Bank of India. And the Imperial Bank of India, the current name of this bank is State Bank of India, is a major agent for Reserve Bank of India. Very good, State Bank of India. And my last question is that why the most of the banks were failure during the first phase? Why the most of the banks were failure during the first phase? Any reason behind that? why most of the banks failed during this phase. Very good. Growth was very slow. Very good. Nationalization of the banks was not done. Yeah, that is also the main reason for closing down. Very good. Failure, periodic failure, absolutely. Periodic failure and mismanagement in their operations. And these are the major reasons for closing down or failure, closing down of those banks during the phase one. So I'm very happy because I'm received a good responses from your end. So now let me start the today's class. Yeah, what we'll do that in the previous lecture, in the previous class, we had a good conversation with you along with Arjun sir. So what I will do that I want to increase the time. Earlier the time was only 10 minutes. So now I want to give 15 minutes of time for discussing these questions, whatever the questions you have related to banking, stocks, and even insurance and economy related questions. So we are happy to receive the questions from your end, right? So in today's lecture, my objective is to complete the phases of the Indian banks along with the structure of the Indian banks. So I'm requesting once again to note on during my lecture. So because in the next class, the same I will ask the questions. So it will be helpful to you. So let me share the screen. The phase one, we already completed this one. Yeah. So phase one, Reserve Bank of India, which is the apex body in the banking system, was vested with extensive powers for the supervision of the banking in India as the central banking authority. Confidence in this or in these banks, and even deposit mobilization, it was also very slow during this tenure. Yeah, yeah. Is it okay? Is it okay? Yeah. Deposit mobilization was also, it was also very slow during this phase. Savings bank facility provided by the postal department was comparatively safer because the postal department giving good services in the rural area people. Even now also we observe that. So that is the reason postal department, post offices, they turn as a banks because they are already having branches in the rural area, and it is easy to provide the banking services for unbanked people. So that is the reason post office are turned as a banks now. And in 1955, Imperial Bank of India was nationalized. Now the current name of the Imperial Bank of India is State Bank of India. The State Bank of India was formed to act as a principal agent of RBI and to handle banking transactions of union and state governments all over the country. And 7 banks forming subsidiary of State Bank of India was nationalized in 1960. And now if you observe that now we do not have State Bank of India associates. The State Bank of India associates merged with the State Bank of India along with the Bharatiya Mahila Bank. Bharatiya Mahila Bank, it was also formed by passing a bill into the parliament, and on 2017 April 1st all the State Bank of India associates, earlier we had 7 and thereafter reduced to 5, and on 2017 April 1st all the State Bank of India associates, 5 associates, the 5 associates are State Bank of Bikaner and Jaipur, State Bank of Mysore, State Bank of Travancore, State Bank of Hyderabad, and State Bank of Patiala. All these 5 associates merged with the State Bank of India along with the Bharatiya Mahila Bank. Along with the Bharatiya Mahila Bank. So remember this point. This is a update on the banking structure, and there is a one more proposal that very recently I saw in the newspaper regarding that some more public sector banks, even we do not have more public sector banks, all the small public sector banks merged with a big banks, and even one more proposal that already started, they are doing that, and one more phase that some of the public sector banks they want to turn as a private banks, right? So earlier version during the 1969 all the private banks, those who are having more than 200 crores deposits, they the government took the initiating and the government started nationalizing those banks during the phase 1, and during this tenure, during this period, they, because of NPA, do you know the full form of NPA? Because we use this NPA term till the completion of this banking sector units, banking first 2 units, NPA, non-performing assets. NPA means non-performing assets. Usually, whenever a bank gives loans to retail customers, corporate sector, when they are unable to repay that money within 1 year period of time, so the bank will officially announce that they are because whenever bank is giving loans to public deposits usually called as liability to bank. Remember this point. Public deposits are usually called as liability to bank because it is an obligation of the bank to return that money to customers at any moment. So that is the reason public deposits are called as liability to bank. So they will appear balance sheet, in the balance sheet of bank, under the balance sheet of bank, that will appear liability side, means left hand side. So remember, public deposits considered as liability to bank. And loans and advances, remember, loans and advances are called as assets to bank. Loans and assets are considered as asset to bank. The reason is that it is an obligation of the customers to return that money to bank. It is an obligation of the customers to return that money to bank. When they are unable to, or when they will ignore to make the payment to bank within that period, so bank will officially declare those assets or NPA, non-performing, because they are not generating any income. So they are declared as NPA, non-performing assets, and we have a very deep discussion on the NPA and types of NPAs also, types of bad debts also available we have, because already you have basic knowledge on bad debt from business point of view. So we'll discuss that. So due to the NPA problem and due to the mismanagement and due to the capital, all these are problems. Because of that, the State Bank of India and even some of the banks also merged. So this is an important update. 2017 April 1st, all the State Bank of India associates merged with the State Bank of India along with the Bharatiya Mahila Bank. And on 19th July, this is an important point. On 19th July 1969, 14 major commercial banks in the country were nationalized. These banks were nationalized by the Congress government. The Indira Gandhi was prime minister at the time. So why the banks were nationalized? First of all, what is the meaning of nationalization? See, the meaning of nationalization is undertaking of the private banks under the custody of the government. Undertaking all the management under the control of government. The purpose of nationalization, the purpose of nationalization is to promote rapid growth. The purpose of nationalization is to promote rapid growth in agricultural, small industries, and even exports, and even to encourage the new entrepreneurs, and especially to develop the backward areas. The reason was that for nationalization of the banks used to give the services for only traders during that period, and even the people who are residing in the rural area at small agricultural like farmers and middlemen and even common men also not able to get the service of the banks in this period. So that is the reason the Indira Gandhi, she was the prime minister at the time, took the initiating to nationalize all the major banks whose deposits exceeded 200 crores. Right? So I'll show you what are the 14 major commercial banks nationalized during this period. So this is available here. The 14 major banks nationalized during the 1969 phase 1. Allahabad Bank, Bank of Baroda, Bank of India, Bank of Maharashtra, Central Bank of India, Canara Bank, Dena Bank, Indian Bank, IOB, Indian Overseas Bank, PNB, Punjab National Bank, Syndicate Bank, UCO Bank, and Union Bank of India. So all these 14 banks were nationalized by the government of India in the first place, whose deposits exceeded 200 crores, to provide the banking services for unbanked people, especially in the rural area. So these banks were nationalized. And come to the phase 2. So please start writing of this phase 2 from 1969 to 1991. 1969 to 1991 we can consider as phase 2. Again in the second phase, again in the phase 2, the nationalization of the Indian banking sector reforms carried out during the 1980 with the 7 and more banks were nationalized. See, if you observe the scenario, the conditions in the phase 2, the 80% of the banking segment in India was under the government ownership. So, when banks under the control of government, public trust on that, and everyone is having access to use the service of the banks at the time. So banking in the sunshine of the government ownership gave the public implicit faith and immense confidence about the sustainability of these institutions. So the government took the initiating to nationalize all these banks to give the services for unbanked people who are residing in the rural area to develop their profession, agricultural sector, and even entrepreneur related areas. So during this tenure, the banks giving more services to the public, giving more facilities. And I said you that during this period, 6 more major banks were nationalized again under the government of the banks or Punjab and Sindh Bank. Please note on this: Punjab and Sindh Bank, Vijaya Bank, Oriental Bank of India, Corporate Bank, Andhra Bank, and New Bank of India. All these banks are not, all these are functioning, but some of the banks are merged with the big banks now. If you say that Vijaya Bank, which is merged with the Bank of Baroda, like that, even the bank names also we cannot find now because those banks are merged with the big banks. Right. So we do not have all the banks that they are not directly operating. They are merged with the big banks now. So phase 2 nationalization of the banks happened on 1980. So these are the bank names. So please note on this point. And come to the phase 3 from 1991. 1991 is not only is a time of the bank, but also the time of changing or opening the doors of all the giving the freedom for all the sectors, like any business can, anyone can start the business anywhere in the world. So the 1991 new industrial policy has changed the entire pace of the Indian economy. We will find the during this NIP, new industrial policy 1991, these three, we find three buzzwords: LPG. These three buzzwords are LPG: liberalization, privatization, and globalization. So we observe that in the during the phase 3. In 1991, why the 1991 is most important? Because NIP, new industrial policy, as that policy introduced into the bill is introduced into the parliament, and the bill was successfully passed into the parliament. And 1991, the P.V. Narasimha was a prime minister at the time. Manmohan Singh, he was a finance minister at the time. Both intellectuals together and prepared a policy which has actually changed the entire pace of Indian economy. So in this 1991, under the chairmanship of M. Narasimham, he was ex-chairman of RBI, formed a committee. The committee was set up by his name, which worked for liberalization of banking practices. Right. The efforts were made to give a satisfactory services to customers. Earlier days, 15, 20 years ago, when we had a doubt, when we go to the bank for depositing and withdrawal or any kind of related banking services, nobody was not having much knowledge for filling of deposit form and withdrawal form and even checks and demand drafts, especially in the public sector banks and because I was witnessing about that when we having a doubt over the filling or even inquiry about the banking services, people will worrying about the bankers. They'll hesitate to ask the questions. They hesitate to ask the questions, clarify their doubts because the reason was that they used to tell the answers angrily. So now the entire system was changed. We find in the private bank there is a board, may I help you? Whatever the doubt, whatever the question you have, you can ask, may I help you? The customer services are available. So this is a part of CRM, customer relationship management. So we'll have a discussion in that. So entire system became more convenient and swift during this phase, and time is given more important than money. Time is given more important priority than money during this phase. So not on complete this slide, and during this phase we observe that the uh, especially during the 1991, the major changes happened in the banking sector, like the major reforms occurred, especially the CRR rate. To understand the terminology of CRR, SLR, repo rate, reverse repo rate, we need to wait for some more classes. Probably some of you are having knowledge on the monetary policies. Everyone knows about that monetary policies. A very important point: monetary policies and fiscal policies. You know that fiscal policies are formulated by Government of India, and monetary policies are formulated by Reserve Bank of India. Monetary policies are formulated by, there is an important question related to this monetary policy. There is no question related to fiscal policy because this is not a part. This is not part of banking. So fiscal policy is part of the Indian economy. Will not have much exposure on the fiscal policy. So monetary policies. To understand the terminology of monetary policy, you need to wait for another 3-4 classes. After that, we'll have discussion on that. So there is a lot of changes occurred in the CRR, SLR, repo rate and reverse repo rates. These are all purely banking operations. Changes happened during this period, right? So moving to next structure. So all of you note down this structure. The structure of the banking structure. So Reserve Bank of India, which is occupied the top place, which is the apex body. The Reserve Bank of India is the apex body which is regulating all the system, not only focusing on the printing of the currency notes and minting of the coins, but also observes the supply of the money and also see the conditions in the economy, especially controlling of the inflation rate. The RBI governor conducts meeting and announces the bank rates. Bank rates are very important. So for that, I am requesting you to please go through the newspapers regularly uh, for a few minutes. Let me show you the paper cuttings. And I just collected in my local language. Let me show you that for a few minutes. I'm just showing that. See that these are all few examples available. This is actually given in the local language, but I'll tell you the entire meaning of this uh, article in the local in English. I will tell you later. This is the article related to NPA, non-performing assets, and this is I said you that IBPS related exam already they have announced this IBPS examination. I asked you to go through the website, and this is about RPA. This is about related to the bank rates and the supply of money. So we'll have a discussion. Even this also in the earlier class we had a discussion on the various deposits available: current account, saving account, like current account deposits, saving account deposits, RD, FD, BD. See, this is explained. This concept is explained in the vertical line. This concept is explained in the vertical line. It started from zero. Why zero? The reason is that on the current account deposits there is no interest given. No interest is given. The banker will not give any interest on the current account deposits. So this is zero. For the saving bank account deposits, the interest rate in between from 1 to 4, even some of the banks giving 5. It varies from bank to bank, but they cannot give more interest because of there is a competition in the market. So they cannot give more interest. And as compared to saving bank account, the RD interest rate is higher, and even as compared to RD, FD interest rate is higher. And for bulk deposit, usually the interest rate is obviously which occupies the highest rate. So this is actually cost of fund. Why it is cost of fund for a bank? Because when public depositing their money in the bank, they need to pay interest on. For a saving bank account, they need to pay the interest on daily basis. They need to pay the interest on daily basis. So as I said, these are all liabilities to bank. So please note down, this is a vertical line. While the concept of types of deposits, better to explain in this diagram. Okay. Earlier I wanted to show, but due to the less time, I could not show that. And this is the interest, loans and advances. I already said you that loans and advances is considered as asset which is actually generating income to bank. how it is generating income to bank. When a customer comes to bank to taking the loan, we have different types of loans available, starting with personal loan and maybe a home loan, education loan, different categories of loans available. When a customer comes to bank to take the loan, so as for the agreement of the loan, the customer should pay the interest on that till the end of the loan, depends upon the time tenure. So the income, the whatever the interest is paying by the customer to bank, which is called as yield or income to bank. So income or interest received from the customer is called as income. So loans and advances are called as asset to bank. When a customer is paying and a bank is generating the revenue or income. When a customer stop or ignoring making the payment of interest, so bank will see that particular time whenever customer is not able to repay that interest, whatever the mortgages, usually the loans are granted against any property, mortgage loans. They are called as LAP. LAP. LAP means loans against property. Loans against property. Suppose when you buy a house, the loan is granted against that property. In case customer is not paying this EMI, so after the certain time, the banker will uh, send the uh, information to the customer that in case if you are not paying the EMIs, the banker will occupy that property of the customer and will auction that property in the open market. And everyone knows about that. So loans and advances usually considered as asset to bank. And here also there is a vertical line is available from 1 to 18. And if you observe that the interest rates also differ from one bank to another bank. Interest rates against loans and advances differ from one bank to another bank, and even varies from one type of loan to another type of loan with my personal observation. If you take that, the personal loans usually for a last 5 years ago, it was 18% I paid, up to 18% I paid. Now, if you observe that, now at 12 to 14 percentage depends upon the type of the company where the customer is working. That is a different issue. So as compared to other categories of loans, the housing loan around it is the which is having a moderate low interest on that. Mortgage loans, corporate loans, the banks usually charging a highest interest rates, right? So we'll go back to slide. We are having 5 minutes of time. 5 to 6 minutes of time. We'll have discussion that. This slide. Yeah. Please note on this slide. The RBI, which is occupied the topmost, because RBI is the ultimate apex body which is regulating the banking system in India. And under the RBI, we have two types of banks available: scheduled banks. I can use scheduled banks, no issue. Scheduled banks and non-scheduled banks. So, what is the major difference between the scheduled banks and non-scheduled banks? Even if you type in the Google also, scheduled banks versus non-scheduled banks, most repeated uh, even in the search engine, we observe that very easily you can get the answer for the scheduled banks and non-scheduled banks. So these scheduled banks and non-scheduled banks, I'll tell you the difference after explaining the scheduled banks. Under the scheduled banks, and we have commercial banks and cooperative banks available. So under the commercial banks, we have public sector banks, PSBs. Now we are having State Bank of India is a public sector bank, and we have Punjab National Bank, public sector bank, and private sector banks. We have the private sector banks like ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, HDFC, and we have foreign banks. The foreign banks also operating in India. We have that the Citibank and HSBC, and we have these banks available, and even RRBs, regional rural banks, RRBs also available. So RRBs especially providing loans. These are actually providing the loans to these are operating in the regional level in different states of India, providing loans for the agricultural and for small and medium farmers. It's providing the loans to them to develop the agricultural sector. See, under the public sector bank, we have the State Bank of Associates. Now we do not have State Bank of India Associates, and even nationalized banks and other public sector banks, and no number exactly mentioned because the banks are merged. So please note down this point. Arjun sir. Arjun sir. In the meantime, please note down. I'll communicate to Arjun sir. Hello. Hello. Arjun sir.
Srinath sir.
Sorry sir. Shall I have a discussion, sir? Shall we start for the because already it is 11:48.
Yeah, sir. Am I audible, sir?
You are audible, sir. Your child is crying.
Yeah. There's a lot of disturbance at my end. I've just come out.
Sorry, sir. Okay, no issue, sir. No
Was
issue.
the disturbance from long time or just?
Just now, sir. Just now it started.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
No issue, sir. No problem.
Yeah, sir, you allow students to ask questions, sir. We'll discuss.
Yeah. Okay. Students, I'll let me explain the difference between scheduled banks and non-scheduled banks for today's class, and after that we'll start asking the questions because only 10 minutes left. The first difference, the main difference between scheduled banks and non-scheduled banks. The scheduled banks follow the rules made by the Reserve Bank of India. Scheduled banks follow the rules made by the Reserve Bank of India. All the scheduled banks are eligible for inclusion in the second schedule of the RBI Act of 1934. There is a RBI Act is available. So all the scheduled banks are eligible to include in the, it means that they need to maintain a reserves like CRR, SLR. It is related to bank rates. It means that all these banks are eligible to take the loan from Reserve Bank of India, not by the non-scheduled banks directly from the RBI. And non-scheduled banks do not exactly it doesn't mean that they will not follow the rules of RBI. So it means that they are not directly eligible to take the loan from the Reserve Bank of India. So that is the main difference. So already it is 11:50. I request all the students to start asking the questions, and I'll stop sharing of this. Yeah. You feel free to ask the questions. I'll communicate the same to Arjun sir. please start asking the questions. Ask the questions. Yeah.
Srinivas, I'm audible.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
So 11:37, one student asked a question in the panelist chat box, sir. Sir, does IBPS conduct exams every year?
Related to what, sir?
He asked a question, does IBPS conduct examinations every year?
Yes, yes. Sir, I will answer this because I am collecting the data related to IBPS. IBPS conducts examination every year on behalf of the all the banks, institution of banking, personal selection. This year also it is announced the IBPS for recruiting of uh, the POs and management trainees, which is available in the website. Yes, sir. Over, sir.
Okay, sir. So
Next,
that was the
please,
question asked
students,
by
ask.
panelist.
Uh, Can you please give some examples of non-scheduled banks, sir?
Non-scheduled banks in India.
Yeah, I think all the regional banks, it means that local banks are the example for the non-scheduled banks, right, sir? Yeah, I think
Yeah,
if you see
non-scheduled
that,
banks. Sir, am I audible?
yes, sir, audible, sir.
So non-scheduled banks doesn't come under control of RBI.
Yes, sir.
So they are not included in the second schedule of Reserve Bank of India Act 1934.
Yes,
So most of the banks which you see in your areas, are most of them are scheduled banks
scheduled.
like HDFC,
Yes,
ICICI. They all come under the umbrella of RBI.
RBI.
Fine. So I think the student want to know names of some banks which are
Yeah, locally, I think these are all. I heard somewhere that all the local area banks are considered as
local
non-scheduled
area
banks.
banks. Other name for non-scheduled banks are local area banks.
Yes, sir.
It seems there are only 4 such local banks which exist so far.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. I'll give you the list of the non-scheduled banks in the next class. Definitely don't worry about that.
We do have, sir, we do have data now. Amarnath
Ah,
Cooperative Bank,
ah.
then Akhanand Anand Cooperative Bank, Alavi
Yeah,
Cooperative Bank.
Bhadradri Cooperative Bank is also non-scheduled bank. I heard.
Uh,
Okay, sir. We'll go for next
Coastal Local
question.
Bank. Okay.
Okay, sir. Sir, why do banks take more interest rate than depositing bulk deposits? He asked, sir.
Why banks
The
take?
more interest rate, more interest rate than depositing bulk deposits. Question:
There is
why
no
do
clarity,
banks?
sir. Could you please
There is
request
no
him to put
clarity.
the question?
Yeah, I'll once again read that. Why do banks take more interest rate than depositing bulk deposits?
I think
Probably
he's asking why there is difference between lending rate and deposit rate.
because for
See,
survival of the bank.
when we see if we deposit in the fixed deposit, right now we are getting 5 to 6%. If it is
Yes.
senior citizens, they are getting more than 6%. But at
Uh,
the time of lending, they'll be charging 8%, 9%, depending upon type of loan. If
uh,
it is a house loan, you'll be getting around 7 to 8 or 9%. If it is car loan, somewhere around 14%. Again, personal loan, it depends. Again,
okay.
employer credibility of customer, 14 to 18%, sometimes even 24%.
Uh,
Some Bajaj Finance, non-banking financial companies, they charge even 24, sometimes even 30%.
okay.
So, banking business operates on the simple lines. They accept
Okay.
deposits at very low interest rate. At the same time, the same money is given to customers at higher interest rates. That's how they will
Okay.
be able to function. See, even banks need to pay lease rents, salaries to employees,
Salaries,
electricity bills, all
maintenance.
utility bills. So this
Uh,
will be possible only when they lend loans at a higher rate of interest.
okay, sir.
So there is no economic sense. They borrow money for poor and they lend again it for 4%, it is not possible for them to function in the long run.
Highly impossible.
So lending rates and deposit rates definitely they do vary.
Definitely, it is vary to operate their services.
Yeah.
So next question: are the private banks under the government control? How do they differ from public sector banks?
See, in India, all scheduled banks come under the regulation of Reserve Bank of India 1934.
Okay.
Fine. So in case of public sector banks, we have statutory guarantee by the government. You take SBI and SBI associates earlier. So in case if SBI due to some reason, if there is any problem, government will intervene and it definitely will help them. So in case of private sector, there is no such statutory guarantee from the government.
Okay.
Fine. But in India, most if you take either private sector bank or public sector banks, they're all robust with huge capital requirements. So they're all strong enough. So no issues whether it is private or public sector banks because all banks come under umbrella of RBI.
RBI.
So when it comes to
And
maintaining in statutory reserves, all these they need to comply with RBI, whether it is private bank or public sector bank.
okay. So one more difference, one more question, sir. What is the difference between public sector banks, private sector banks, and even foreign banks?
So foreign banks, they are of foreign origin who are operating in other country. Fine. Coming to public sector bank and private sector bank, Srinivas sir, I think you can answer this better than me because teaching right now the subject. I
Okay,
think with
okay,
regard to base capital, there is some variation.
okay.
Paid up capital.
Uh,
Other things will remain same most of the times.
okay. One student asked a question. Every bank should follow the rules of RBI, right? Then why there is a difference?
Sir, could you please repeat?
The student asked a question like why every bank should follow the rules of RBI, right? So then why there is a difference? He's saying.
What difference? Ownership?
Actually, there is a difference. There is no clear cut question here. I feel that it is the ownership.
See, major difference between even the earlier student also asked same question. What is major
Same question.
difference between public and private sector bank? See,
Yes, sir.
public sector banks are those where majority of the stake in the bank is held with the government.
Yes, sir.
So most of the stock is with the government. Whereas in private sector bank, majority is held with shareholders, that is general public.
Okay.
Fine. So
Sir,
if you
here,
see SBI is public sector bank, whereas ICICI is private sector bank. So
okay,
SBI, much of the stake is with central government.
okay,
Whereas in case of ICICI, most of the stake is with private individuals.
okay,
So ownership varies depending upon shareholding, sir. Whether
yes,
it is
sir.
owned by government or general public.
Okay, one question is related to what happened to S Bank scam that happened in the phone pay related issue. Maybe probably is asking S Bank.
So we have got only 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fine.
Next class.
Even S Bank promoters are now facing legal proceedings. It's too early to comment on S Bank because we don't have definite judgment on that. Definitely, we'll speak about what went wrong with S Bank.
In the next class, we're very because we are eager to answer that question, but due to the time constraint, we are unable to answer that. It definitely
We have got only 1 minute, Srinivas sir.
1 minute.
Next class, we shall start
Yeah,
session with S Bank problem.
yeah, yeah. And last
What went
question
wrong
also
with S
we'll
Bank?
discuss in the next class.
What is that last question, sir?
If a businessman runs away with the loans taken from bank, then what way will customer get affected? We'll have a discussion in the next class only, sir. Already
Yeah,
12 o'clock.
Vijay Mallya is live example, so it takes nearly half an hour to talk about his
Yeah.
profile.
Okay, sir.
Definitely, when a customer takes loan and he defaults, definitely it will have impact on the bank and even bank customers, the large
Yes, sir.
scale. So we shall discuss both these cases, Yes Bank and Vijay Mallya case.
All the students, we are happy to you are asking these questions, and which is eye opener to everyone. So thank you, sir, Arjun sir,
Right, sir.
and thank you all my students. We will meet in the next class. Thank you. Have a nice day.